My Hero Academia. This is My Hero Academia, chapter 364, Why We Wield Power. Last we left off, it was revealed that Dobby's alive. Well, not just alive, but back in the battle. The weird evacuation system that UA has set up is now being hacked into by Skeptic. And All For One is regaining his original peak form. So that's a lot of fun. Everything's falling apart at once. But, we get a little bit of a flashback up top. We learned that Shigaraki... we knew this, but Shigaraki stole some of the samples of Ares' DNA that Overhaul was trying to use on people to take away their quirks. And this guy has been... what's his face? The evil doctor dude. I think they changed his name a couple times, but I forget what his name is. Weird Eggman guy. He has been trying to replicate it, and he seems to have made it work. He only has one shot, though. He gives it to All For One. So, yeah, that's good. And that's how he has reverted himself to his old form. He took the Airy syringe, and now he is returning to his prime. So, not great. Not good at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, he immediately steals this lady's quirk. Once again, not fun. And gets a cloak. I wonder if is that this lady's power is to make.
Yeah, he takes her cape as well.
Oh, nice.
He takes
Takes
her
the
cape.
power and her.
Yeah, there's a line there where he's like, "I'll take this cape as well."
Yoink. Pretty fun.
2 for the price of 1.
Yeah. So
I wonder if he even knew what her quirk was. He probably just was like, "I'll take it.
I'll take it. Whatever it is, it's it's probably good.
Can't hurt, right?
Can't hurt.
She's out here fighting with it.
Yeah,
can't be that bad.
It's fine. And All For One reveals that this bit of rewinding will be the end of him. So this is his last ditch effort. He's going to pass on his dreams to Shigaraki. And yeah, so so Hawks is like, man, fuck, I gotta solve for time for Endeavor to hit one more blow. And he's like, something beyond stealing off one for all? Mind filling me in for future reference? And All For One goes on this whole spiel. And he's like, I'm quite influenced by comics. The world always fears the big bad villain. Why do you think that is? And he's like, because he does
because it's a fictional story. And an author can make it whatever they want.
Yeah. But he's like, because he does bad stuff. And he's like, but what is bad stuff, really? He says, in a world teeming with myriad cultures, bad and values, bad stuff would be an act that universally makes the masses turn up their noses in disgust. An act which thwarts the future they envision. So I intend to thwart the whole world, the future of the whole world. And I'm like, damn. Why? He says, that's all I've ever wished for.
Yeah, like what? He's just a classic villain.
Yeah. Well, we cut to America. Fuck yeah! And we see Admiral Akbar basically. He pulls up to the President of the United States. And this guy is like, man, sorry, too late. Tomura won, and it's your fault, Timothy Akbar. It's funny. I guess he's playing a name on Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. So he's like, man, we lost Stars and Stripes, and there's already been a standoff between the world's developed nations, and we don't know who will be the first to earn Tomura's trust. Like, a lot of people are just considering turning over to the League of Villains side. And Admiral Akbar over here is just like trying to argue. He's like, no, we shouldn't let this guy take over the world.
Like, are you a crackhead? And the president they're making our president cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with being sensitive. But he's like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only to minimize casualties. Tim,
Oh, yeah, that's what he said.
Tim, this is our nation's future. And Akbar is like, we won't have a future. Man, do you not know who we're dealing with here? What the fuck?
And he hits his jewel real quick. His vape. That's what I'm jacking. That's
really
what he
funny.
hit, his vape.
Yeah.
Like, damn, it's stressing me out.
Yeah. So, he's just trying to talk the president to some common fucking sense here. It's like, hey, maybe we shouldn't let this guy take over the world. But, he's basically like, Cassie followed in her idol's footsteps and died for it. I'm sure you haven't really forgotten. Children observe adults as they grow, and they pass it forward, and so on and so forth. Heroes always wielded their power in the name of that cause. Just a general idea of, yeah, even though things look hopeless, we can't just like give up, because then our kids are going to learn to give up and give into this fucking mad person. It's not good.
All right.
But then we cut over.
Not this guy.
Not this.
Anybody but him.
Anybody. But then that's when we cut back to the battlefield. Bakugo is still dead. And that's when Edgeshot pulls up. And Edgeshot talks about how, like, I am the ninja hero. There's no realm I cannot infiltrate, and I have ample experience invading the bodies of other. So he starts like,
really?
Yeah. This is his quirk, kinda. We've seen it before, where he just like makes himself into this weird thread, and his like primary move is that he would just like bunch up people's nerves and whatnot, by like entering their body and stuff. It's kind of a cool power.
And it does nothing to Shiraki.
He doesn't turn into a thread. He flattens himself.
Yeah, he flattens himself, or that stuff. So yeah, he starts making his like weird flattening powers onto Bakugo's chest, and he calls out to Mirko to not go quietly. Should he tear you asunder, sink your teeth into his flesh. And he says, because Edgeshot, the hero, will not let this pass. This stopped heart belongs to a life we can ill afford to lose. So he's going to replace Bakugo's heart and make it pump. And this is pretty much a suicide move on his behalf. And he's like, just so I leave the rest in your capable hands, club president Hakamata. And we get a little flash of them back in school. They apparently, I guess, were besties. And we see Edgeshot basically uses Ninpo, 1,000 sheet pierce zenith, and he proclaims that he will be the boy's heart. And that is the end of the chapter. Oh, man, lots to talk about, I guess. But Josh, why don't you start us off? What did you think about this chapter?
So, remember when I asked what Edgeshot's quirk was?
Yeah.
Could you guys help make it make sense for me? Or maybe he'll do that next week for us, right? He's going to break it down, how he'll turn into a heart.
Brian could probably explain it better than I can.
I hope so.
So I don't think he's going to become the heart. He's going to basically replace the parts of the heart that's damaged. So he'll essentially be like, his quirk will kind of, because he can fold himself and put himself into bodies, right? So essentially what he's doing is he's putting his entire body into his heart, and then using his quirk to kind of replace all the functions that are missing. So he can pump the heart, and he'll like kind of be the function of it. So he'll die, but I guess his quirk will stay active, and once Bakugo's heart starts pumping, he'll kind of assimilate into it, is what I'm guessing is what's going to happen.
It was a word I was saying a month or so ago. It was one of the new words I learned that I enjoyed it a lot. What was it? Something about making something up on the spot.
It's not necessarily what it means, but it's a contrivance.
Yes, contrivance.
It's not necessarily what it means, but it's close. I'll allow it.
No, I don't think there's a contrivance here. I'm gonna tell you this. On the page where the strings were like, I guess this guy's quirk was going into Bakugo, it looked like there were threads. Like, threads from what's this guy's name?
Best
Yes.
genius.
I forgot his name already.
Best
Thanks. Yeah, Best Genius. So I remember when I first read this, I was like, oh my God, Brian was right. Brian was right. He's about to sew his heart together, and then the nitroglycerin is going to reactivate it or something. I was running wild. And then all of that shit ended 2 pages after. Like, oh, he's going to turn into an organ with his ability to get through anything. I'm not mad or nothing. I'm just a little like, there's a lot happening. It's like I'm on a spinning ride. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right example.
Okay, so
I'm on the ride. I'm on the ride.
Here's a little bit of a context clue, I guess. In the little flashback panel, there's they seem to be a part of the Texture Arts Association. So, they ran a little Texture Arts club, which I guess implies that Edgeshot's quirk is somewhat adjacent to it, where he can flatten himself to the point of being a fiber of some sort himself.
He has shown that he can be that small. Like
He's
infiltrated other people's bodies as well, so it makes sense that he would do this, that he could do this. Wait, Josh, do you have all your thoughts done? Because
No, go ahead. I don't really have too much thoughts for this.
so basically it makes sense that he would do this. I just feel like why?
Like, why?
All right, so I read this chapter a few times, and only now did I like it a little bit more than I did when I first read it. But obviously, there's a lot of people who are upset that Bakugo's coming back just because, it is a little too soon, or it shouldn't have happened in the first place. But
yeah, it's
I
a
just
little
don't
like,
know.
what's the point? What was the point? If
it just feels unnecessary. But it's already happening, so we can't, we can't hold on to that shit for forever. So I'm just gonna sit here and try to understand where he's gonna go with this. So I don't know what this new heart will have as an effect on Bakugo's body. Because if you what does this mean? Does this mean that he gets Edgeshot's quirk? No, probably not. Does this mean his heart is extra strong because it has Edgeshot in there, his
whole man
his
in
body
there?
in there? Yeah. Does this mean that his heart can withstand more pressure? So that means he can use his quirk more liberally? Or what effects will this have on Bakugo? Because obviously
Maybe it'll.
this is what I think is going to end up happening, and I hope it happens. But I think Deku's not going to show up here. I don't think Deku's going to come up there. I think Deku's going to go fight All for One, in his prime form. Because who's going to help them? Who's going to help All for One? Who's going to help in that All for One fight? Who's going to show up to turn the tides? Endeavor's not going to be able to fucking fight that dude. He's missing an arm. Hawks doesn't have any wings. He only has one wing left, for his sword. Who's gonna fucking turn the tides there? So it has to be Bakugo comes back, and he's the guy who they rely on to beat Shigaraki here. And with his new heart that will allow him to fully reach his potential with his awakening, he'll be able to actually turn the tides, which would honestly rectify some of the issues that we've had with the last few chapters, in my opinion, for me at least. This would make it would feel unnecessary, but if Bakugo comes back and he makes some real fucking noise, then I'll be okay with it. But I do believe that Deku's not going to show up to this fight. I think he has 100% faith in Bakugo. Regardless of like, what's happening here, but we did see when Deku was on his way to the tower, to the dome, he was warned about All for One. He was looking in the direction of where All for One is. So I think he's gonna go there. So I'm interested to see what happens next week. This chapter was a little bit confusing, but everything surrounding the Bakugo part was pretty good, in my opinion. It's really cool to see All for One in his prime. Like, he literally looks like an evil motherfucker. Like, when you see him, and the way that he acts and the way that he speaks, it's like permanent confidence in his goals and shit. And when you see him in action, you just do feel hopeless because this dude is the ultimate evil. And he doesn't really need all that much depth either. It's okay for him to be just a fucking stereotypical villain because he is the ultimate evil. He's not supposed to be like have shades or colors or like supposed to be somebody who has likability or somebody who has like unique aspirations. He's ultimate evil, and what's more evil than world domination? There's no way around that. That's why we have Shigaraki. Shigaraki is the shades that we need and the depth in the villain that we need.
So you're saying All for One was intentionally corny?
He's the opposite of All Might. All Might is the ultimate good. He didn't have
He's that nigga. He's that nigga though.
Yeah, but so is One for All. He's literally. Come on now.
All for One, you mean? No.
You're telling me that dude is not real.
Once upon a time, Brian. Not anymore because he's a weirdo clown. He's a psychopath that needs fucking help. Like, he needs to get his bending removed and like go out somewhere to chill. No more quirks.
He's the ultimate villain, dude. Like, you don't mess with that guy. He's the gangster.
That's boring, bro. That's boring.
That's literally who he is. And I think it's interesting that Christian actually predicted this about Aries' quirk being like a nonstop.
What?
You said this actually, like a few chapters ago when All for One did the whole villains can do sacrificial plays too. You called it.
He did. He did.
I think it's cool that we're gonna be able to see All for One in like different times in his life too. So we get to see like teenage All for One and even like baby All for One at some point.
All for One is gonna be like Kid Buu. Cool.
But that just makes this fight a little more interesting because now it's not just them going against Prime All for One; they're fighting against him on a time limit too. So they just have to survive for the most part, and I think it's kind of interesting. It's not just a fight and defeat him, and now it's a we gotta fucking survive, motherfuckers. we're fighting against the GOAT villain. So
yeah, but to be fair, All for One's on on the clock now. He's going to die.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and Hawks is basically stalling for time so Endeavor can do his special beam cannon, basically. So I don't know. I feel like there is probably more to All for One than meets the eye. I can't imagine that he is just this vanilla guy. I feel like we're gonna get that in the coming chapters with his de-aging process. We're probably gonna get a little more information about him, his relation to All for One, One for All that stuff. So I'm reserving judgment on that until later. For me, this chapter was kind of like I liked what it was doing here and there. I like the little moments. I think All for One has been kind of a pretty cool and imposing villain in this chapter. It was good to see his like full form and not his weird lima bean face, because up until this point, All for One's face has always been kind of like hidden in the shadows, even in flashbacks and stuff. So this is the first time we really get to see what he looked like. So that's been cool. I don't buy. I wish that like there's a lot of like this villain monologuing, and I think part of it is kind of on purpose because this is kind of a send up to superhero comics. But I feel like we've heard this kind of thing so many times already, and it's just like get to the point already. What do you want? Why do we have to do this like game where you're like, I'm going to destroy the world that is? If you're gonna like
That is.
like if you're gonna monologue, can we just like get the point?
All for One is a shit talker, so
I guess.
know that much.
I guess that's
he's
fair,
always been that
but-
way.
But I feel like we've heard this kind of thing like 1,000 times over this series, and I'm like, I'm getting sick of it.
I think he's the only villain that monologues like this, though.
Shigaraki a little bit too. He's like, I'm going to destroy this world because it's
Yeah, but
shitty.
Shigaraki is influenced by him, so it
It's
makes sense.
shitty and
Anybody
bad.
who's attached to him, like physically, or, like,
Unfortunately.
they're just inheriting the shit talk quirk.
Yeah, and this scene in America where so it's more of a world building scene than anything, just like showing how the world at large is reacting to the return of All for One and Shigaraki rising and all that stuff. It was fine. I feel like it could have been a little shorter. But I guess it's because like we haven't been all that involved in the world outside, so it's like, who cares what the world outside thinks? They're not a part of the story, really, not in any substantial way. So, who cares? It's not like there are any characters in other countries where we're like, oh, I wonder how they're going to react. I wonder what they're going to do. We're not anticipating an international hero to come in out of nowhere and save anyone anyway. So I could assume that the international hero world is not going to do anything about this, which is weird.
I think it was just to show that the rest of the world is now kind of spiraling.
I agree.
'Cause in the panel before that, they show like there's like riots going on in the U.S.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like I assumed that, because the world's greatest hero in Star and Stripe is like gone. So I could imagine at that moment a lot of things got turned upside down. So it's fine. I'm not gonna like stay on it, but it's like I don't feel like it had an overall bearing on the story. The stuff with Edgeshot is actually like what I liked about this chapter, but also I took some issue with it because we've seen Edgeshot around. He's been around in like a lot of important moments of My Hero Academia. He was there when All for One fought All Might for the last time. And
Yeah.
he was there for the war. He was there for, I believe, the raid on Overhaul. He's been around and we've seen him. He's like Best Jeanist and all these guys that have just been kind of tertiary adult heroes. So
Like Mr. Flame Resistance.
yeah, like Mr. Flame Resistance, like like the Washing Machine and Mirko. He's among those heroes where they've had these little moments here and there, but we don't know them. I only felt for Edgeshot because of the adult heroes in the world. He's one of the more prominent ones, and I thought this was like a cool moment for what they were going for. But it didn't. I found myself like, I feel like I'm supposed to really give a shit, but there's this like missing piece. Like that little flashback panel is like what we needed, but extended and earlier, so we can have. Because I didn't even know Best Genius and him were homies like that. Like I feel like that was like an emotional thing that was supposed to tug at my heartstrings, but it didn't quite tug all the way.
It sure didn't.
I liked it though. I mean, I felt something, just not the level of emotion that I feel like I was supposed to. But I guess it was a cool little moment for him. And we were all like theorizing, I guess, that Best Genius was going to come in and do some thread work. But then I guess Horikoshi was like, it's actually Edgeshot. And if you told me that earlier, I'd be like, what? How?
Like, wow, that's out of nowhere. Like, you sound dumb.
Yeah.
It's like saying Miracle's going to kick him in his chest and restart his body.
Yeah, which would be funnier, I guess, to be she just kicked the shit out of his chest.
Imagine she used her metal leg.
From what I understand, there's a lot of My Hero lore that is taken care of in Vigilantes, which fair enough, but also it should be in the main. It should be in the main shit. Like a lot of very important things are in Vigilantes. I haven't read it really, but I just know that that's the case.
I'm gonna have to read that shit.
Yeah, I mean, and
It's a decent manga.
I'm sure
Brian said it's good.
I've read some of it, and it is good. It's just like it shouldn't be a requirement. You know what I mean? Like,
It's not really a requirement, but it does foreshadow a lot of the shit that's going to happen in
that's
the main story.
that makes it important. Because
You got a Japanese Batman in that, right?
there's a
kind of.
there's
Knuckle
like
Duster.
there's like a Punisher, Batman, Daredevil type guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta have those.
Does he hate All Might? Does he despise All Might?
I don't
No,
know.
he is actually very similar to All Might.
Yeah, he's
if
like
anything.
the All Might of the Vigilantes, basically, from what I understand.
Oh, snap.
But yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I all I'm saying is that like it's not crazy. I could read Vigilantes, but I shouldn't like have to like be connected to this lore that is important down the line. But I don't know. I don't want to get too like mad at that. It is what it is. The lore is.
I'm getting pretty mad about it. Don't worry.
I'm trying to remain unbiased. But overall, like, this was a good chapter. I feel like I came away reading this chapter initially like, this was good. I felt things. It made me feel things. And that's a good thing. I felt for Edgeshot to some degree. I felt for... it was cool to see All For One full form to some degree,
Yeah.
So I won't say that this chapter is bad necessarily, but it's just lacking in these little things that My Hero could do to make it better.
I think that the anime might be the best way to consume My Hero Academia at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they'll be able to... I feel like the anime might be able to afford doing a little bit more fleshing out.
Yeah, but who knows if they're actually going to do that,
I think they will. Anime usually does do a little bit of ironing out.
Is there an anime for Vigilantes?
No, not yet at least.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did get one.
I'm disappointed.
I just hope that Koichi shows up at some point in this series.
Goichi.
'Cause he actually is a very fun character to kind of watch.
Who's that?
He's the main
He's the main
character
character
of
of Vigilantes.
His ability is that he can float as long as he maintains a 3-point stance on something. So
For real?
yeah,
His quirk gets
It gets more advanced
as it goes on.
but at the start, that's what it is. He basically can hover like a foot or so off the ground, so long as he has like 3 points of contact at least.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a cool quirk. It's a fun, like, very My Hero Academia-esque ability.
Yeah.
It's a give and take power. But anyway, those are my thoughts on My Hero Academia. I don't know how I feel. I feel good. I'm interested in reading the next chapter. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm interested in this. I don't know what to say. I want to see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Peace out to Edgeshot. It's not that big of a
He's not
deal
dead
to
yet,
me.
so I won't give him the Mario dead sound effect, but he's getting there.